Welcome to the Big Time Strength Podcast, featuring small school strength coaches making the big time where they're at. Today, our host, Coach Preston Peterson, interviews a high school strength coach who is creating a big time strength conditioning experience for their student athletes. Today's episode is sponsored by TeamBuildr. TeamBuildr provides strength conditioning software to athletics programs around the country. Whether you write your own programs or want access to over 100 templates, TeamBuildr can make your program more efficient, more accountable, and smarter when it comes to measuring your team's effort in the weight room. Visit their website and start a 14-day free trial at teambuildr.com. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy the episode.
Our second sponsor is PowerLift. PowerLift is the leading manufacturer and distributor of heavy-duty strength training equipment for collegiate and high school athletic performance centers around the world. PowerLift brings over 20 years of experience to the strength and conditioning world. All products are manufactured in our state-of-the-art manufacturing facility in Jefferson, Iowa. We are proud to support all coaches making it big time where they're at. Guys, there is not a better strength training equipment company out there. In the heart of America, they build quality equipment for all their customers. In every weight room that I've worked in, PowerLift has been there. And the equipment is crazy how durable it is, how long it lasts, and the customer support that you'll get from Mike Richardson and the rest of the staff at PowerLift. Thank you, PowerLift, for everything that you guys do for our show. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Big Time Strength Podcast. This week, I had the pleasure of having Coach Joe Aratari on, and we just were laughing before the show that sometimes last names are hard, and a lot of people butcher mine, so totally understand where he's coming from with that. But I'm excited to have Coach on the show. He is doing some pretty cool stuff, and I followed him for a while, his high school account, and then kind of figured out that who he is and reached out to him, and he's got a pretty full fall, and I'm sure he's going to talk a decent amount about this, but he's got high school going on, private sector, college sector, all of it kind of thrown into one, and I can't wait to just kind of unpack what he's got to say. Coach, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I might, maybe with my last name, might be one of your first, Italian strength coaches that you've had on your episode. So yeah, looking forward to getting going here. Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, no problem, Coach. Hey, Coach, just to start things off here, can you give us your background, kind of where you've been and where you're at now? Yeah,
absolutely. So quick snapshot over in Rochester, New York, Western New York area. I did my, played sports growing up, went to SUNY Plattsburgh for my first degree. Long story short, I got a degree in criminal justice. Just wasn't really for me. Loved the idea of, working in law enforcement, but towards the end of my senior year, I just didn't really love it. But I played soccer for all 4 years up there. After I graduated, I went back to school at Brockport, which is local in my area. And I got a degree in exercise science at Brockport. Got that degree in 2016, and midway through that degree, I luckily linked up with Next Level Strength and Conditioning over here in Fairport, which is a town in Rochester. And in the same week, I linked up with Next Level with the owner there. I also linked up with Penfield High School. I saw they had an opening. So basically, in the same week, I got hired by Penfield High School and Next Level. That was April of 2015. And really from there, it's just kind of been a crazy ride in the field. Been really lucky to have gone through a lot of just crazy coaching experiences. Really diving more into, getting opportunities to spend more of the time in the business sector at Next Level. Moved on up into like a manager, and I oversee our internship program. I help with staff development and just the day-to-day operations of, running a business, whatever that may be. And so, that's part of my life as far as the private sector. I run a high school program, Penfield High School. I'm the director of New York State in the National High School Strength Coaches Association. And I also do a little bit of work with some collegiate teams. I work with 8 collegiate teams at the Division III level. So got my plate pretty full. And then on top of that, obviously just, a couple online clients and things like that. So yeah, certainly it's been a busy last couple of years. But, absolutely love what I do.
Yeah, there's no doubt when you're loading up your plate that full, man, you have to love what you're doing, and that kind of just pumps me up to think about how much time and effort you're putting into this thing. And you were talking about staff development and intern program and different things that you've got going on for next level. Obviously, you're working with the 8 teams for the college and Penfield High School also. So there's a lot to juggle with that, but you're managing a ton of people, right? Just in a lot of different ways. If it's teachers or students, or if it's student athletes at the college level, or your clients, it takes a very diverse person, I would say, to be able to handle all that. Can you give us a rundown of kind of the culture that you're trying to build, or the feel that your company is trying to have, or just kind of your mission overall for your strength and conditioning?
Yeah, it's certainly, I think, Coach Boyle put out a post a while ago, or an article, and it's like learning to talk coach. And I think I've really honed in on the soft skills of trying to be better with different groups of people. And, some of my coaches are a little bit more on the aggressive side, and some are more on the, maybe let me just have full reign in the weight room, or, coaches just have different personalities. So I've definitely learned how to interact with different coaches to make sure the program might be the same and the results might be the same, but maybe just, the way I interact with them might be a little different. As far as like what we're trying to accomplish at, next level, and I'll even say with Penfield, we're really just trying to be a people-driven type of gym. We obviously, like, when we take people on staff, we're looking for people that obviously can coach a deadlift, that can, coach movement and things like that. But if they don't have a personality, if they don't have values themselves as people, just to be a good person, and if they're not someone that we want to be around and that our clients and athletes want to be around, it's probably not a great hire. And I think when we put people on staff like that, we're able to just accomplish all the goals that a gym should do. And, those are the given goals, like get people to perform better, lose weight, hold themselves accountable. But I think it really starts with like the type of people we put on staff. So I think that is our difference maker, because, there's a tons of gyms in the area. And anyone can do a squat. Anyone can teach a kid how to get faster. But I think like the type of people you have is your difference maker. So I would say like that would be like one of the big things we're big on. And then aside from that, like we really call ourselves a family. And I think, we're trying to build like strong relationships with everyone that we work with. And it's tough in the private sector. There's definitely more of a team culture in a high school or a college or a professional setting, because you're just with each other all the time. But we put a big focus on how do we get that similar feel within the private sector. So we've just been really focusing on trying to make every group a tight knit group, and make it seem like a family. And I take that same mindset to the kids I have at Penfield, and I think using a unified approach has helped, where pretty much all our off-season kids do the same program. It's really allowed us to just be a close-knit group.
That's awesome. I think, starting at next level, talking about a people-driven gym, I think that's a cool way to look at it, and to always look for that team atmosphere is very cool. With everything that you're juggling, you've had to have some hurdles, right? You've had some challenges that you've had to overcome. Can you tell us one of those challenges that you've had to face, and how you went about, topping that thing, coming out on top?
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's a tough question on the spot. I think we actually had a coaches meeting today at Penfield, and one of the things that I think early on that I struggled with was just team cohesion. And I think we do a good job in our off-season group at the high school because everyone's training together. It's easier for me to communicate to the group, but in season is really tough when some of my kids might not come in the off season. So I'm trying to get a kid to buy into an in-season program that doesn't work with me in the off season. B, I don't have that much time with them. I have, maybe 30 minutes twice a week, for in season. So I was really, struggle sometimes with the in-season list because sometimes it's like, all right, I don't have the time to like talk about all the stuff I might want to talk about. Sometimes I just have to put a workout up and instruct them how to do it, and then let's get to work. Whereas a sport coach, sometimes you have that time to go over film, but you also have that time to go over, other things that make people good teammates, right? So I was really struggling to find that balance of, all right, in this block of time, how can I get them through a workout, get them to buy in, make sure they do the workout properly, and also connect them on a bigger level. And I think just over the course of time, I think I've realized that I win the relationships with the kids in the off season. And I think like I've put so much more focus on really getting to know them when they come in during the off season. So when I have them in season, they kind of just get it, if that makes sense. And then using, honestly, like social media has been a huge tool for our school. And as funny as that sounds, that's kind of where I do some of my extrinsic motivation, or maybe it motivates kids on an intrinsic level. But since I don't have as much time as, a sport coach to spend with the kids during their season, I try to use that social media platform to just motivate the kids, but also preach about our philosophy, our message, like how to do things, how to put things away, how to, maybe a video demo, like just and so forth. So I think those are just some two tools that I use that have, helped me try to get better team cohesion during those in-season periods.
Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying with kids that are not in the weight room during the off season, and then you're expected to work with them during the in season, and they don't quite understand what the purpose is or the thought process behind everything. So I really like just being able to develop relationships in that off season, like you're talking about. One of the things I was going to ask you about, Coach, is what does it look like for the athlete that still doesn't come during the off season that you have in season? How do you go about that? Because for me, I've tried doing a separate kind of workout for him, a little bit watered down. What have you used? What have you done?
Yeah, it's tough because they're either, in different situations. So you might have the kid that doesn't go to your, off-season program, and they're either not doing anything, or they're doing something on their own, or they're going to a gym. And, I have no problem with my kids going off site. Obviously I want them to go to a good quality strength coach wherever they're going. I do personally, I take it a little personally, and I think a strength coach that says they don't is lying. But if my kids are going to their local gym to do their program, I try to educate those kids that they're not going to see the benefits that they want. It's no secret that the kids that either go to a private facility or train in-house are our most athletic kids and strongest kids and put up the best numbers. The kids that do their own thing don't reach those type of heights usually. As far as, approaching the kid that may not train with me in the off season, but then I'm expected to train with them in season. Basically, if I run the same program, so I don't treat them any different. If anything, I'm going to treat the kids that have been, training with our program, a little bit different just as far as what they do. But as far as the team setting, I have them all doing the same thing. I've had the situation, I'm sure many coaches, where, you have that kid that might go somewhere else or doesn't really buy into training. And, if I talk to them first, if they're not really having a great lift, I'll always talk to them, try to ask them, why are you here? Get their mindset right. And if it continues to be a problem, personally, I'm at the point where I don't give them the attention. And I know that sometimes might sound harsh and, oh, you're not paying attention to your kids. Oh, you're letting them fail. And, that's not what I'm getting at. But if I've gone out of my way to highlight the importance of why you're here, we have a free off-season program, and during the in-season period you're still not bought in, then there's only so much I can do. These are high school kids. I mean, they're not babies. I can't hold their hand the whole rest of the way. So if I've gone out of the way to highlight the importance, I've given them a couple, I don't want to say warnings, but I've talked to them face-to-face a couple times. I've asked them why they might not train as hard, and if they still kind of goof around or just are lackadaisical during the in-season periods, there's really not much I can do. And, you're always going to have those kids that they frustrate you because they have so much potential, and they just don't do the little things that they need to do. And it's really hard because we focus on those kids. But I'm at the point now in my career, and especially at Penfield, I'm comfortable there where I'm going to give my effort to the kids that are completely bought in. I'm not trying to sell anymore. I'm not trying to sell the importance. Like, I believe in what we do, and I know we have a bunch of kids that believe what we do way more than don't. And I know we have a ton of coaches that push our program. So I'm gonna go all out for the kids that trust that.
That's awesome. I think that's cool, and I think that's awesome that you got to that point where you feel comfortable to do that. And I think I don't know, at some point, like energy vampires or other terms that authors use to just say, like, you're not part of the culture that we're trying to build, is there has to be a point where you say, like, I'm going to cut ties a little bit. I think a lot of people are using like the commitment scale. I think Jeff Johansson might have put that out originally, but like there's a lot of different variations of it. And it's pretty cool to see people that are on that scale at the top end, but then also on the other edge of it where you're just like, man, what can we do to at least pull them on board? So.
And just to kind of reiterate on that, I forgot what conference I was at, but it was really cool. But they basically were like, you cannot pump up your studs even just because they're studs. I'm at the point now, I could care if a kid's a Division III, Division I, or professional athlete. If they're not bought into our program, I'm not gonna put them up on Instagram. Like, even if they do like a really good job, like I'm not gonna just pump them up just to say like, oh yeah, they go to my high school. So I mean, we have a ton of stud athletes that do our program and come through and do a great job. Obviously I love those kids, but I'm just more worried about like the kids that are showing up. So whether you're a stud or you don't get much playing time, I'm going to build up the kids that are showing up, because ultimately that's all we can do. Like, I can't help a kid that's not showing up. And I'm not going to give social media clout to a kid that isn't really truly a part of our program. And I think early on, I as a young coach, I just wanted to be liked. So I might have pumped up kids that really didn't do our program, or maybe weren't the best leaders in the weight room, but they were the best on the field. And I'm at the point now, I know I don't do that, and I intentionally do not do that. But yeah, it's come through comfort, and it's come through, trial and error, and, any young coach, and, I'm still relatively young in the field. You're going to make those mistakes where you're just trying to get the kids to like you, but, ultimately that's not your role, is to be their friend.
Right. That's great. Coach, you're working with a wide array of athletes, all the way from high school kids to college kids, and then dependent, maybe younger, older than that, with next level. What does that look like for your programming methodologies? What's kind of your go-to stuff, and how do you set up maybe your unified program at Penfield, or maybe your private sector stuff?
Yeah. I think I use a lot of different methods, but I have the same philosophy, if that makes sense. So I have no problem like dipping from other type of programming, and not to throw out names, but I could use like a triphasic approach. I can use a conjugate approach, very Mike Boyle approach, or similar to what we use at Next Level. I think ultimately when you break it down, those programs really just come down to movement patterns done well over time, and adding a little bit of weight on the bar over time, and train some heavy stuff, train some fast stuff, do some sprints, do some cutting, do some jumping, some landing, some med ball work. And then ultimately you're going to push, pull, squat, hinge, and carry. Do things on two legs, do things on one leg. So I know that's very vague, but that's kind of how I just break down how I would train anyone, whether they're a professional or my regular one-on-one general fitness clients. I just want people to be able to perform for life. Obviously, an athlete, there's a little bit more of that performance side, and risk versus reward type of things. So that's kind of the general mindset I have when it comes to programming. As far as how I set up my split at Penfield, we're pretty much, the unified program is a 4-day split. Most of my kids come 2 to 3 days a week, so I base it around that. So we do a traditional, honestly, we have like an upper body day, a lower body day, a split day where they're doing full body. So for those kids that come just 2 days a week, I let them know that you have to do one upper body and one lower body, and that's it. You can't do the full body day. You have to do the upper and lower. The kids that come 3 obviously do the lower upper split. Like they'll do a lower day, an upper day, and then they'll do a full body day. And then, if a kid only comes once a week, they'll do the full body day. And then if a kid comes 4 days a week, our fourth day is honestly an accessory day. And I'm not going to lie, it's a lot of just single joint movements and some bicep curls and triceps because kids love to do that. And the kids that come 4 days a week, they're typically the kids that are diehards that want that extra stuff. But those days are really reserved for Thursday or Friday. So it has to be their 4th day of the week for them to be able to do that type of stuff. I kind of call it the gravy. Like you got to get your meat and potatoes before you put on the gravy type of deal. So that's really the program that I run, at Penfield. In season, I typically we have teams anywhere from 1 to 2 days a week. And usually the day 1 is more of a heavier day and the day 2 is more of a speed day. However, it just really depends on their game schedule. High school is definitely tough. And then as far as the private sector, we obviously have our set systems. But for my private groups, I just experiment. I think that's how you learn. You have to see what works, and you can't just run the same program time after time after time. So I've been really fortunate that I have a decent amount of my private groups. I have a lot of like hockey, soccer, and lacrosse athletes. So just over the last couple of years, I've been able to experiment, see what works, see what I like, see what the athletes respond to and what they like. So it's been really cool just to, use Next Level as sometimes a guinea pig and see what works best.
That's good stuff, Coach. How about to organize all of that? What are your favorite resources and tools and softwares and apps and just different ways to optimize your training and workflow?
This is not a plug, but I got to give a shout out to Train Heroic. Not endorsed by any way to say that, but they've been amazing. I think they really make everything we do, especially at the high school, we use Train Heroic simpler. I use it with my college programs, and especially with me not being there all the time for off-season workouts for my college kids during the summer months. It's been a game changer. We used to use paper and pen at Penfield, and I could never see us going back to that. That to me seems like caveman stuff. I'd rather go back to whiteboard before I go back to paper and pen, to be honest. It was a nightmare. Just wasted sheets and crumpled papers and everything. But we also do whiteboard, for some of our in-season lifts. So as far as the best technology that I use to organize all of it, Train Heroic has really, really been a great resource. And then as far as just staying scheduled, I live and die personally by my Google Calendar. I check that thing every day, but, I got alerts going off. So I try to just send out reminders of when I need to upload programs, when I need to schedule stuff, when I need to program, when I need to budget time to program. So as far as tools, I would say, the Google Calendar and then Train Heroic have been really good to use.
Those are any tools that can optimize just your day, right? Just give you some time back somewhere, I think is awesome. And the way that a lot of coaches are just figuring out this, unique ways to get that done. That's pretty cool. And I know it sounds dumb, but Google Calendars has saved my life here recently. And before everything I write down, and it's dumb, but I just got in the habit of using Google Calendars this past year, and it definitely has made me a little bit more efficient that way. So I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but yeah,
you're good.
I had like a passion planner, and it was really cool, but you always have to check it. Like middle of the day, you'd have to check it. Where phone, I have my Apple Watch, like I get alerts, so it's just, you kind of have to use the technology to your advantage. And, train aerobic has been, just for an example, today, I had a program worked out and one of my teams came in and they were just telling me like, they got crushed a little bit in practice and, they have a game tomorrow. So I, on the fly, unpublished their session, changed some of the lifts and then published it again, which, if you have paper and pen, you already print them out. It's hard to do that. So, the technology makes me a better plan B coach because so much of what we do is plan B. I mean, we sometimes are notified last minute that we have to do a lift or, a game got changed and we now have a game tomorrow, but we're lifting today. So it's just maybe a better coach and, been able to be a little bit more flexible with what I do.
That's great stuff, Coach. I think that just to hear all the things that you have to juggle and you've got a system for it, that's pretty cool to me. One of the things that I want to dig deeper in, and this is kind of the namesake of our show, is making the big time where you're at. I just want to ask you that directly. Coach, what are you doing that you believe just makes you making the big time where you're at? Like you're doing everything that you can to be the best that you can be.
I don't know. It's hard to talk about that. It's hard to pinpoint, a certain thing. I would say one thing that I get excited for is trying to push the field for younger coaches. And I know that might not be directly related to the kids I work with, but I really love our internship program and developing our coaches. And I think when we're able to develop better young coaches, they're going to be way better for our athletes at next level. They're going to be better at whatever position they take. And the field overall is going to be, just better overall, right? So, my mission is to help as many people as possible. So if I can help coaches that then help their athletes, in effect, I can help athletes that I'm not meeting, right? So I guess that's always been like one of my missions is just to spread quality training, quality coaching, and mentoring as far as possible. So I really like working with our younger coaches. I'm really good friends with one of our coaches who went through our spring 2019 internship, and he did a great job. He's actually Jake Topple. He's the one that's on the podcast with me. He's on staff at Next Level. He's a Victor High School strength coach at a high school in our area. And it's cool to see a young coach that's driven, and he's not the only one. We got a few that are just driven coaches. But I think it's cool to see their transition and how Next Level and our staff and myself have helped them. But I get a lot of feedback too on Twitter, and I get a lot of coaches that message me, especially the younger coaches, just on like advice and tips and things like that. And it's really cool to give back to them because I'm not much older than them. So I take pride in the fact that they view me as someone they can reach out to, but I also like the fact that I can give them some feedback to make them better. So as far as making the big time with my athletes, my personal athletes that I work with, it's hard to answer because, I don't see myself coach, and hopefully, I do a good job with that stuff. But I guess like the one thing I would be keen on is I'm really into building the relationships and getting to know them and knowing what's up in their life and just being able to listen. And I think sometimes coaches, when kids have coaches that, control their playing time. And I think that what makes us cool about strength coaches. Like we don't control playing time really. We're not in the heat of the moment per se, especially at the high school level. So, when a kid, let's just say that they play soccer, when it's November and their season's over, they have from November until next August to worry about playing for their school. So you just have months and months and months to just train them and listen to them and get to know them. So I think that has, helped me as a coach is just listening to my athletes and not being so quick to judge.
Yeah, that's a really cool point. And, you talked about, both settings basically. And and what you're trying to do with younger coaches. And I just remember back that was so fun to learn from people that have gone before me, and then try to help out the people that are coming after me. And that's always been a cool idea for me. But then also, just being able to be there for an athlete that you don't control their playing time. In their eyes, you are there just to help them in every single way. So I think that's pretty cool that's our job, right? Like that's something that we get to do for a living. And I think that's such a cool deal. So congrats to you, Coach, with making the big time where you're at. What about what's something that you're excited about learning and improving on this next year as a coach?
I think I'm most excited about some of the side projects I have. I'm diving a little bit more into niche type of areas, I guess I would say. And I know I'm kind of finding the words to speak here. Sorry, but I'm trying to dive a little bit more into, at least in the private side, just focusing on soccer and hockey and a little bit of lacrosse. I think those are the sports I work with the most as far as my private groups. And me, again, being a little bit of a soccer guy, but where our facility is, we work with tons of hockey people. I'm excited about just the upcoming content that, I plan to put out, and kind of making a shift towards really just putting out as much as I can as far as those sports. So as far as like a side project, that's what I'm most interested in. And because of that, I now have to just dive into more education on, those type of sports. And I have a good background on those sports and training for them. And, those are the three that I've been working with the most. But now I just feel like I'm comfortable to the point where if a basketball kid was to reach out about private training, I would refer them to, maybe another coach on staff. So yeah, I mean, that's a cool project that I, and just as far as stuff that I have coming up. Other than that, like, I just really geek out on the social side of things. And I don't think I am going to be at the point where I'm going to be the best at that, but I love just dealing with different types of kids and how to interact with them and learning about different, strategies to build buy-in. And, culture is definitely a buzzword, but like, how do you build culture, right? Like, and it's not probably something, a step-by-step thing you can do, but those are the type of things that I just geek out on. I think like the programming stuff, like I'm one of those coaches where I'm more into the soft skills than the hard skills. I have a understanding and I'm very comfortable with my programming and things like that. And obviously I'm going to continue to learn, but anyone that's been in the field knows like there's only so many strength and conditioning books that you can read on that change your mindset on programming. So, I think as far as that stuff, I take in information, but if I can't apply it, sometimes it's harder to, really, again, apply that stuff. So.
Yeah, no, that sounds very interesting with just narrowing your focus, man. I think that's cool when you can get to that point, and I'm sure people will appreciate that in your area, the athletes that are going to come and train with you, but then also, with the content that you're going to put out because of that, between, Twitter, your podcast, whatever that is, that helps coaches out in a cool way that way. So
I think I'm lucky to the fact that at the high school and college, so I, again, work with 8 programs, I get to have so much experimentation because I get every single sport. So I get to see what works for basketball, what works for my hockey, what works for cross country, and so forth. So I get to have experience with those teams to the point where when it comes to things I do personally in the private side or, whatever I may do, I have that ability to almost hone in on a specific niche. So it's been cool because I never want to not train like a basketball team. Like I love our men's and women's basketball team that I work with at Penfield. I never want to not train a cross country athlete because I want to get cross country athletes to buy in to the fact that they need to train. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm not trying to say no to those athletes or that they don't need training. But it's really cool on the private side that I have the ability to really kind of just focus on the 3 sports that I think I, might be known for the most. So that's just been something that I'm excited about.
That's sweet. We're kind of coming to the end here with our finisher questions, and you can answer these however you want to. If it's a quick answer, or if you want to dive in just a little bit more, that's great too. But my first question for you is, what is your favorite book?
Yeah, so always get asked this question a lot, and I think I say the same book, but Extreme Ownership. Extreme Ownership: How U.S. Navy SEALs Lead and Win. And I know it got a little bit of press, about a year or two in the field for just being a hot topic. But I think, I've read it a couple times, but it's really a book on just accountability and just ownership, right? Like, you can't blame others for mistakes, or if things aren't going right in your program, in your life, like, you have to point the finger at yourself. And, I'd be lying to say if I didn't blame someone for something. Like, I think we all have those times where we point the finger, and I think, like, reading it once a year, and then maybe just coming back to some of the notes that I take really just puts things in perspective. And, just today, like, I'm thinking about, like, some of the kids in my weight room, like, leaving weights out. And anyone that works at a high school knows that that's, like, the most annoying thing, right? Kids leaving weights out. And, just blaming kids, like, oh my God, like, why do kids, like, how do you not put away, a dumbbell? Like, everything's labeled. And, I can complain all I want that weight's on the floor, but if I'm not, doing something proactive to address it, then really ultimately I'm just complaining. I'm just, I'm not really, I don't have any solution. So it's hard to swallow. It's a hard pill to swallow sometimes, the ownership piece, but that book does put things in perspective. It helps you not be so quick to judge and make sure you have your own stuff in order before you critique someone else, I guess I would say.
From my perspective, man, that's one of the books that truly just changed my viewpoint, my perspective on life, and how I want to be perceived and how I want to live. And every once in a while you find a book or an idea that just kind of makes that shift for me, that paradigm shift. And I agree with you, man. That is a book that should be read probably once a year to just refresh.
Yeah, it's I actually, the other day I brought it up to one of my college kids because she was commenting on how, and these were like some of my college kids, just back end story, do small individual groups because I can't be there for every single lift in the off season. But basically she was just saying, like, some of her girls were like just, not getting their lifts in, like, because they couldn't find the time in the day. And, they had class from like 9 a.m. till like 7 p.m. straight and studying and all that stuff. And, obviously I want to be there for them and sympathize, like, they're college kids, but, like, you can wake up a little earlier, right? Like, and get your stuff done. And, obviously we want our athletes to sleep and get nutrition and have a lifestyle and a healthy one. But it just, it put things in perspective. Like, when the days when I have to be to work, early or something, like, how can I improve? Like, finding those times where you can improve. So if you don't have to be to work till 8, like, can you wake up maybe an hour earlier to get like a 30-minute workout in? Like, I know that one chapter, like, people were getting ahead because they were getting up earlier to clean their guns and going for a run and things like that. So what was the quote? Like, if you wake up, or if you hit the alarm clock in the morning, you lose the day. So try to just, like, wake up a little earlier to get things done. Like, go to bed a little earlier, wake up earlier, own your day. Like, own your mornings and you own your day type of principle. So I thought that was just a really shift for me. And I can't remember the last time, like, I don't like sleeping in past like 7 o'clock. Like, I love the morning. Like, that's where I feel most productive with things.
Truth. I agree with that, man. I don't know why, but I just, like, in the morning, I am ready to roll and I can think clearly and just knock stuff out. It's a good time. All right. Coach, how about a person that's influenced you the most? And that could be within your life or within strength and conditioning, whatever you want that to be.
Woo. Dude, oh my God, that's a hard question. Yeah, I would say, like, I'll kind of pick two. I would say, like, as far as my coaching, I would have to go with the owner of Next Level, Nate Van Cowingberg. he was obviously the person that got me a position at Next Level. He helped get me a position at, Penfield High School. And as far as, when I first started out, he was, the coach that I kind of look forward to, whether it's mentoring, just learning about stuff in the strength conditioning field. But I think like even a step bigger than that, like he's just the person that I would want to be when I'm, older. Like the way he handles problems, the way he communicates to people, like I've never heard someone say like a negative thing about him. And that's not just like our staff, but like athletes, parents, other coaches. He definitely like has that kind of feel to him. So I think like for me being, a little bit on the younger side, like going through the first couple of years, like that's a coach to aspire to be. Like, he does things the right way. Like he's a value driven guy, and like he's turned down business opportunities that might have made us short-term, money and got us new athletes in or whatever, because they weren't in line with our values. So I think that's just really cool. And then, aside from, I guess on more personal side, aside from like my parents and, my family, my athletic director at Penfield is one of the best around. Pete Shambo, he's been such a great mentor to me. And, not just, I can't even pinpoint one specific time, but like we talk almost every day. But anytime I'm at a game, we'll hang out together and we'll talk. And the way he just comments on things and like tries to like work through situations, or if I do have a problem, he doesn't like tell me what to do, but he works through a solution or, a guidance. So I have to figure it out. So those two guys have definitely been really big influencers in my career.
That's awesome. It's great to have those people, man. And that's really cool. So, Coach, here's another one that off the top of your head sometimes is tough, but what's your favorite quote?
Oh my God. You're going to have to make me look through my notebook here. So getting a little bit more on and I think this goes for everything, but I'll give you two if that works. Can I give you two?
Yes, definitely.
All right, cool. So I'll give one that relates a little bit more to training. And I think and I say it all the time, but like what gets measured gets improved. And I think it can go from tracking your weights as an athlete, because that's the message I preach to my kids. But if you're not putting your weights in your phone, like how do you know you're getting better? But I think like that just goes down to like being disciplined, to like having a purpose to what you're doing. So yeah, like the sets and reps and what we're doing, that completely matters. And taking pride in that, like if you take the pride to know what rep you have, write it down, track it, and then reference it back the next time you're lifting, that's just overall pride. So I guess that's a big one that I say a lot in our program. What gets tracked, gets improved. And then me more on a personal side, I like to quote, I forgot who said it, but Craig Ballantine, I think it was in the Perfect Day formula. But it was pretty much live scripted, not reactive. And I think like that has been a huge game changer for me as a professional, is that I try to have everything organized, because again, if you do not wake up with a plan for your day, I just feel like very unproductive, and I feel like I wasted the day. And I feel like I love the days where I have everything scripted, where I know where I'm going to be, I know what tasks I have to do, I accomplish them, I move on to the next one. But that happens by planning out my day in advance, or my week in advance, or month. But this is not even like from a performance side of things, but like I know how much money I want to make in a month, how much I'm going to spend in a month, like my goals financially. I write that down. I evaluate it every month, and I have scheduled time where I do that type of stuff. I have time where I audit my social media to make sure, all right, if this post isn't getting a lot of feedback, like I'm not going to make posts like that anymore. So I know that seems very like, wow, this guy has no life, but I try to like really be systematic with the things I do, because I think when I'm more organized, it opens up time when I do have free time to enjoy it, right? Like if I'm able to do everything I need to do within a week and crush it, both training but also professionally, then when I do have my free time, I'm able to let loose and chill with a beer with my friends and not feel like, oh crap, I gotta like program, like I forgot to program this week. So I guess that's the mindset I have. Like if I work as hard as I can during the weeks, then I can really, when I do have my time to just let loose and hang out, like I don't have to be stressed during those periods.
Yeah, that's awesome. Going back to Jocko's stuff and extreme ownership, I think you'd say discipline equals freedom. And I think that's kind of the live scripted, not reactive. I like that, man. It's not everybody can function that way, but that's definitely the way that I like to function. Always have something lined up and a goal that you're working towards,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think hopefully, like I'm open with what I do and, posting it, and I don't hold secrets, but, hopefully our kids see that too, because, I want our kids to see us as coaches as not just like people that they can go to help them be better athletes, but be better people and better professionals. And I think like so many people get afraid about talking about being a better professional in whatever field. And especially as strength coaches, like we shy away from admitting that we want to make good money and we want to live a good lifestyle. And I don't think that's the way we should be. Like we should be openly about that, and we should be able to share that type of stuff. And, if a kid comes up to me, like I'm more than willing to talk to them about tips that I use. And, obviously it's up to them to apply it, but hopefully kids see us in that train of thought that we're not just people to use to get better at sports. We're high performance people, and, they can certainly come up to us to give them advice or help them out in any way.
No, that's cool. Yeah, no doubt. Coach, here's this last question kind of gives you an opportunity to give a shout out. It's a small school coach who is killing it and you think just deserves to be recognized.
Small school coach. I got to go with Chad Smith in Livonia. So back end story on Livonia. It's a little bit of a smaller school. They got a really good athletic program. I don't know what class they are, but to give reference, we're class A. I want to say they're like B or C. But they, first of all, the way he got a balling weight room. That he has an amazing weight room out there. But the stuff he's doing with that program is really cool to see. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty jealous of some of the stuff. I mean, they got turf in their weight room. They got all the equipment they need. They got push bands. They got team builder. They have TV monitors with the lifting and all that stuff, all those bells and whistles. And obviously that doesn't make a great program. It's the coach behind it. But he's advocated so hard to get really, really great training there. And he pushes the why. And I know he pushes the why really hard and I'm sure he gets feedback or, negative feedback, I'm sure, but he just continues to push and push. So that's definitely someone I would, follow on social media. He posts a lot of stuff on Twitter of his program. But it's just been really inspiring to see how hard he pushes his program. And not only that, the field in general. He's hosted, I believe, 3 conferences the last 3 summers. He brings in some big name people to come to his school and present. I've been lucky to present the last couple of years, but he's brought in the Buffalo Bills strength coach. He's brought in Nate Harvey from Elite FTS. He's brought in, guys that, own facilities. Like he's brought in some really well-known people in the field, and, he has a podcast. So he's just pushing the field. And he's a PE teacher by trade, which is, I think, the coolest part. So it's been inspiring to see him really work hard.
That's great. That's awesome stuff, Coach. I think I'll have to reach out to him. It's always nice to be able to find some more people that are pushing the field forward.
Yeah, I think again, like people come to his seminars, and a lot of it's sports coaches. The conferences are a lot of sport coaches, and I personally love presenting more to athletes and sport coaches than I do strength coaches, because most of the stuff I, get to talk about, most of the strength coaches should have an idea about it. Obviously, we're always going to learn, whether it's, something very specific like RPR or something like that. But as far as general terms, I love being able to educate the sport coaches and the athletes. And Chad does a really good job because he builds a platform where these conferences are really for sport coaches. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, no doubt. Coach, what would be the best way for somebody to reach out to you if they want to know more, or just to see what you're doing at Penfield or Next Level or whatever you're doing?
Yeah. I'm pretty active on Twitter and Instagram myself. And that's just at Joe Aratari on both Twitter and Instagram. Next Level, their Instagram is just Next Level. I believe it's Next Level Rochester. But yeah, for me personally, just my Twitter and Instagram accounts, I try to tweet a little bit, something every day. Our Penfield account, if you're a little bit more in the high school sector, that would probably be a good account to follow. And that's just, at Penfield Strength, on Instagram. And I believe the Twitter is at Penfield SC. So yeah, I got like 8 different social media accounts that I run between the Instagrams and Twitters. It gets pretty exhausting sometimes. But Twitter and Instagram are definitely the 2 platforms that I'm on the most.
Awesome. And Coach, I saw on Twitter not too long ago, and I think maybe you've already got a couple shows going, but you got a podcast started. We're going to link that up in the show notes for you. Is there anything you want to plug on that?
Yeah, so I'm really excited about that. It's called Field Experience. It's with our co-hosts, with one of our coaches, Jake Topple, who I've mentioned before, and then Brad Schwartz. We basically stumbled upon the name Field Experience because we want to, again, help younger coaches, gain, experience, but also knowledge in the field. But we also want to bring on people that don't have to do with strength and conditioning, hence field experience. So it could be anyone from any field, and it's primarily going to be on strength conditioning, fitness, wellness, and things like that. But every now and then, once we get it really up and running, we want to highlight business owners who are absolutely crushing it. So not to say it's going to be like a Joe Rogan show that's kind of just random topics, but it might be somewhat of a Joe Rogan show as far as random topics. But yeah, we want to keep it loose. We want to just keep it fun. We're not really looking for, super structured. It's not, I'm sure you're the same way. It's not your full-time gig. So we want to make it a side project and not feel like work. And I'm sure you're the same way. But yeah, we probably after the new year, we're going to start trying to bring on coaches and other people. And again, we're looking for more like you are, the coaches that might not be as known. And there's tons of coaches absolutely killing it out there. I follow, I know it sounds weird, but I follow like thousands of coaches on Instagram, on Twitter that are just killing it. And I would love to just pick their brain. So yeah, it's going to be a really, really cool show. We already have our first episode out. We just recorded episode 2 yesterday. So we're trying to release 1 to 2 episodes a month.
That's awesome, Coach. And like I said, I'll have that linked up in the show notes. So I appreciate you taking the time. I know you're a busy guy. I know you got a lot of stuff going on, and it just a fun conversation. Got to learn a lot, and just very appreciative of you coming on.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you having me on, and obviously everything you're doing with pushing the field and just getting, like you said, the coaches that are making the big time where they're at, and we all appreciate that. So thank you again.
All right. Thanks, Coach.